Deep below the earth, nearly 4 kilometres down, South African miners dig as fast as they can. Most of the work here is semi-skilled. A strong back and a lack of fear will give you a good enough pay packet at week's end. But after more than a century of mining, the gold deposits are dwindling and the risks are increasing as workers dig deeper for the precious metal. For the next generation of South African workers, there may not be a lot to sing about. These kids face an uncertain future. 40% of them are destined for a life of poverty. Another 40% are likely to be so poorly educated that their careers will be mundane at best. Just 2 in 10 will make the grade. South Africa is still a land of haves and have-nots. A huge percentage of people remain unemployable simply because they're not educated. Yet the cities are full of expensive cars, more often than not driven by the new black elite. But among those who are reaping the benefits of the new South Africa, only a few appear willing to give something back to the country. 3 decades ago, James Motlatsi was swinging a pick in the mines of South Africa.
Well, this is a terrific view out here. How long have you been here for?
Well, I have been here for 7 years.
Life's a little different these days. Now a successful businessman, James Motlatsi sits on the board of the very mining company he once sweated for as an unskilled labourer.
Do you get to use the pool much?
Well, the kids are using it, not me.
His children are getting the best education money can buy. It's a far cry from his childhood, spent attending to livestock rather than school.
Mind you that I'm coming from the poor of the poorest families in Lesotho. And my father didn't have head of cattle, he didn't have sheep, he didn't have goats. I had to look after other people's livestock. We did find this house by luck. Not that we were really looking for a view.
His correct title is actually Dr. James Motlatsi. It's an honorary doctorate in social sciences. It's a title that few would begrudge him. Many consider Motlatsi a visionary. For 30 years, he has fought for the betterment of black South Africans. In the 1970s, he, along with hundreds of thousands of fellow black workers, toiled away in the country's gold mines. They were treated appallingly.
You will be forced to go and shower. If it's winter, the water will be cold. But the terrible treatment is that you will be kept naked, moving from one hole to another for more than 4 hours.
By the mid-1980s, the black miners weren't prepared to take any more. Leading South Africa's first black union was James Motlatsi. The strikes were more than just demands for better wages. The apartheid system ensured black miners remained semi-skilled at best. Qualifications and a proper education were reserved for the whites.
Well, in the 70s and the 80s, and indeed even way before that, black workers were prevented by law, by custom, by practice, from acquiring certain skills.
In the 1980s, Cyril Ramaphosa worked with James Motlatsi as Secretary General of the National Union of Miners. he'd go on to lead all of South Africa's black unions.
The strike continues.
Prior to the 1990s, black workers could not move. They could not earn better money. They could not get into key responsible or areas of responsibility in the mining industry. They were like boxers who were put in a ring with their hands tied behind their backs.
With Nelson Mandela's release in 1990, a new era of hope began for black South Africans. But decades of apartheid had left the workforce chronically uneducated and unskilled.
I have it in my heart to forgive the past evil rulers of this country, to forgive them for many things that they did, even to forgive them for putting Nelson Mandela in jail for 27 years. But what I cannot find in my heart is to forgive them for denying black South Africans a decent education.
For James Motlatsi, the solution is to instill ambition. And quite simply, to provide the school kids of today with a proper education. For years now, he and Cyril Ramaphosa have dug deep into their own pockets.
This is the toilet seats and the hand basins.
Funding dozens of public schools with everything from scholarships to the most basic needs.
Because I've never seen boys' toilets as clean as this.
And you're going to find them here in the morning and here.
Immediately after the democratic elections in 1994, I and Cyril came together and say, we will have to contribute not only politically to our society, but we must also be able to contribute to make sure that the education becomes available for everybody, in particular children who are coming from the most disadvantaged communities and families.
People like James Motlatsi play a critical role in helping to take this country forward. So I am very hopeful about this, the future.
I think you have heard about the Adopt the School Foundation.
James Motlatsi's Education Foundation is quite a success story. Corporations are now digging deep, and the number of school children who benefit grow by the year.
Because ultimately what is important is not only to say this school is the best. We want all the schools to be the best.
The thoughts are noble, but the task is daunting. The unemployment rate among the families of these students is a staggering 85%.
So if you as learners, even after you obtain your degree, you mustn't sit down and say, oh, today I have arrived. You must make sure that you will continue to study, make research in order to be a good corporate citizen.
The truth is that right now, South Africa could do with more good corporate citizens like James Motlatsi.